Andrew and I, Andrew being my co-founder,
Mm,
we'd be just like, going back and forth, discussing a feature, and then we have like three other people there just staring blankly at the screen, waiting
mm.
for us to come to decision. And then sometimes we'd be like, let's table this for later. Yeah. So
That would have definitely caused confusion and even friction
yeah.
for those team members just sat there watching you two kind of bicker over a feature. All right. Today's guest is Shuk Huay Ko, the co-founder of Gency, the project management tool. A founder who learned firsthand how building too broad can break even the best ideas. She and her team set out to create a powerful, flexible product, but ended up trying to solve too many small problems for too many people with no single customer to truly serve. In this episode, we're going to unpack how a well intentioned vision turned into a horizontal monster, why customer discovery went sideways, and what she'll do differently next time. So let's dive into Shuk's founder fuck up. Shuk, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Good. Thanks. Thanks for having me back. Well, new show, but
New show, same faces.
yeah.
All right, so give us some backstory. What were you building, and what was the original vision?
All right, awesome. So I think in the early days we were building a work management platform specifically for agencies, and we tried really hard not to categorize ourselves as a project management tool, but lo and behold, we were. And I think essentially we were trying to solve a lot of the in between problems at an agency, right? Because there were so many functions within an agency beyond just project management, right? You're talking about asset management, chasing client deadlines, collaboration, and so on and so forth. So we really took on this giant task of like, let's fix how agencies run.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm. Okay. Um, how agencies run. Why did you come to that pain point? Like, what drew you to that?
Well, I think historically in my own career, I've been running agencies for a long time. And every agency I went into, there were a lot of different headaches. And, there were a lot of different functions in the business that if any failed at a given time, it would have a cascading impact, right, on other functions, especially client delivery at the end of the day, right? And so we thought, let's try to create a platform that really streamlines operations and helps teams like perform and work like clockwork, right? Yeah.
Did you kind of fund this yourself, bootstrap,
Yeah.
or did you raise capital? Like, how did you
Yeah.
launch? How did you get started?
Yeah. Well, we had a MVP slash prototype off of Figma, but then we had a really small pre-seed funding to go build that vision out and go to market. Yeah.
Okay, so you raised through venture capital, or did you do
Yeah.
angel investing?
Like a small VC.
Okay, cool, cool.
Yeah.
And we were talk when I was introducing the fuck up that you've made. One thing was that we went a bit broad.
Mhm.
When did you realize the product was too broad and just had too many features? Like, at what point?
I think it happened right from the beginning. But I think we realized it definitely when we were trying to go to market. Because one, we could not nail our positioning. Right? It was really hard to do even an elevator pitch because you were like, oh, we are like everything and anything, right?
Yeah.
Um, it was also really tough internally because we were struggling with our product roadmap, and every feature we rolled out for a specific function, it just didn't feel enough because it felt like we were building, 5 to 6 different tools all packed into one. We did the whole all-in-one project management messaging as well, so that was a bit painful. And I think when it came time to do outreach, there was no real key decision maker that could decide on a product that was so all-encompassing like ours. Yeah.
Okay. So do you think that you just were chasing all of these new features, or were customers or prospects you were speaking to saying, "Oh, I need this feature," and that was kind of driving roadmap decisions? Like, how was that?
I think in the early days when we did customer interviews, we were meeting sizable companies who were telling us like, oh, there's this pain point and that pain point and that pain point, right? But the problem was that it was never narrowed down properly, right? And then on the other hand, we were also kind of facing issues when it came to uh, how do I say, when it came to making prioritization decisions. Yeah, so it's not so much that a customer say, "Oh, I really need this now," but it was more like a customer would drop a pain point and we'd be like, "All right, we can build for that." You know what I mean?
So a lot of, would you say a lot of the roadmap feature decisions were just, hey, could we have this feature? And then you were like, okay, we'll build it.
Kinda, yeah,
So kind of customer-driven roadmap.
yeah, but not really like deep dived.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm.
Okay. Yeah, I can imagine that would be pretty stressful on your tech team trying to figure out what to build. And
Yeah,
did you find yourself before we get into sales? Did you find yourself going, "Oh, if we just build this feature, we will have sales," or
100%.
was it kind of, okay? So you
Yeah,
were like, "If we build it, they will come"
yeah.
mentality,
Yeah, I think
and
there
you
was a few
built it.
conversations. I think like two or three customers who were like, we had capacity planning issues. We needed a resourcing feature, and it gave us that confidence of like, oh, I'm gonna spend a month or a month and a half to build this feature out, right? And then I'm gonna go back to them. But then by the time we did it and we went back to them, A, it was either too late because they'd chosen another product, or B, they were like, okay, this solves my pain point. I'm gonna go speak to the other stakeholders. And
Yeah.
then we never closed the deal anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like building features without any form of commitment and
Yeah, I think so.
hoping,
Yeah, yeah,
hoping for
for
the best.
sure. Yeah.
When you were first launching, what was the ICP you had in mind? Because you were talking about agency, right? So
Yeah.
you were still focused on agency.
Yeah. I think we initially set out to well, go by different company sizes. In the early days we were doing like any company that was about 10 people, 10 headcount. Then we could target the founders because they'd be driving a lot of ops, right? They'd be meeting customers, still coordinating with their team and so on. Uh, However, we were priced at a price point where in hindsight didn't quite fit the small agency makeup. Uh, and then we went and targeted the all the way up to 30 people agency, and we target like account directors and project managers who could never make buying decisions around these two.
Okay. So basically, we have this mapped in buyer persona the whole way.
Mm,
And you said you were priced to premium.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
And who were you priced versus? Because if you were becoming this kind of complete project management tool, the guys like Asana and ClickUp, and
Mm,
these guys come to mind. Is
yeah,
that where you would? Did you keep facing them in your competition?
definitely. Yes, to some extent. We tried really hard not to categorize ourselves as a project management tool, and we went into like, hey, we are a work management platform. So you're looking at companies like productive.io, which has, resource planning and all this stuff. We were priced pretty equivalent to them, except we were earlier stage. Yeah.
But then you were building a project management tool, even though you didn't want to.
We were building something bigger than a project management tool, but by the time we delivered features, even internally, we were using it like a project management tool.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
you were not building a project
Yeah.
management tool, but when you, shall we say, ate your own dog food, you were using it as a project management
Yeah,
tool.
exactly. Yeah. Feels like Google, like Google, they release all these apps that like internally their teams don't use. I think we are like a Google outside,
Just not with the trillions of dollars to.
minus all of that. Yeah.
So, how did that lack of like a clear buyer? Because we were saying,
Mm,
you were going after agency founders, wasn't really there. Going after account directors, couldn't make decisions. How did that lack of kind of clear buyer, or even the positioning, because project management, workplace management, show up in your sales process? How
mm.
impactful was that?
Yeah, it was tough because we never nailed messaging that went. that made people go like, aha, this is for me, all right? Uh, for example, I would sell to a founder of a small company. They look at it and they'd be like, yeah, hey, this looks really good. I'm going to send it to my project manager. The project manager goes in and they're like, okay, this is not just project management, so it doesn't really feel like my purview, right? And then we flip the script and we go like, hey, project managers, or account directors who are dealing with clients, you're like, hey, all in one, right? No more asset chasing. You can manage your team's performance. You can collaborate with clients, and they'd be like, oh yeah, that sounds great. I'm an account director. I don't make purchasing decisions on tools at all, right? Because I'm outward facing, and you're just like, we kept getting sent to other people
Okay.
throughout the process, and it was just like, it was really long for early stage SaaS company. We were doing almost like enterprise level sales, right? You'd be
Yeah.
like, oh, so many stakeholders and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I guess the operations, a lot of people are involved anyway, especially as you get to a bigger organization. And that sort of stuff. And what did that lead in terms of revenue? How did that impact sort of the number of customers you're able to acquire?
Yeah.
Were you able to acquire
It was
many?
just really painful because our conversion rates were really crap, right? Like we needed like so many leads in order to even convert one. And then when we converted people, the size of the team they onboarded to our tool was much smaller because they weren't going to onboard the entire organization. But we essentially built for the entire organization, right? So yeah, it was really tough. Yeah.
And what was happening internally, right? Your team. When this was all happening, when did the directions, get messy? Like what was going on with the team?
Um yeah, so product road mapping nightmare, prioritizing nightmare. When you deliver something, it almost never feels adequate enough because you're doing like the almost base functionality of every particular item in your tool, right? So we had a goal tracking tool, which was like super basic anyway, right? Our resource management tool was just tracking time and estimated time against the actuals, right?
Yeah.
And then you have a bunch of workflows that we really tried to bake in that were so uberly complicated because of all the different tools they had to connect to. So you can imagine it was just chaotic because we could never go, hey, let's build a tool that
Mm.
does something really, really, really well, right? It was always, this has to be better, this has to be, and it was just like across the board.
How did
Yeah.
that impact the team vibe and culture? Like just
I think, yeah, if I could just reflect on one of my meetings, Andrew being my co-founder, we'd be just like, going back and forth, discussing a feature, and then we have like three other people there just staring blankly at the screen, waiting for us to come to decision. And then sometimes we'd be like, let's table this for later. Yeah, so
okay, so that would have definitely caused confusion and even friction for those team members just sat there watching you two kind of bicker over a feature.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think during one of our retrospectives, it was definitely feedback of like, hey guys, we need better direction.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
No, I can feel. I mean, that impact everything. And who was, who would you say was responsible in the team for prioritization for the direction? Was that you or your co-founder Andrew?
I think we've always tried to be me first setting priorities because I was the one doing go to market, meeting people and all that stuff, right? And I think Andrew tried as much as he could to kind of like take that feedback, consolidate it, and then turn it into an actual roadmap, right? I believe a lot of the chaos came from me not being able to go, hey guys, this one feature all in, let's do it and let's sell it, right? Yeah.
When I was talking, kind of opening our scene, I mentioned that customer discovery went kind of sideways, and when we were
Mm,
talking before as like a pre chat, you were saying that although you did customer discovery and customer interviews before we
mm,
built, you felt that you didn't do it properly, and And what do you mean when you say you didn't do interviews properly? If you were to pinpoint, is this where the point began? This is where this began, or was it somewhere else?
Yeah, I definitely felt like yeah, we got our fundamentals wrong from the beginning. We spoke to a lot of people, like I mentioned, but we didn't do a good job kind of narrowing down all the findings we were having, right? Like I spoke to folks from Dentsu, right? Largest advertising agency, and I was like, we just took their feedback almost like face value, right? I spoke to people from Harry the Hirer, one of the largest event companies in Australia. Uh, and I think what happened was the longer someone spent time with us during customer discovery, the more problems they shared, and it was more worried. But we took it as, hey, the longer they're spending time with us, the better the indication that we should fix that problem. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think we misread that situation. We felt really confident going into this with like, hey, we know so many people with so many pain points. We can always just go back and say, hey, products ready. But when we actually went back to them, they were just not as interested because the pain points shared were a variety, but it was not painful enough, right?
Deep.
Yeah, it's not deep enough. And it is a huge change, right? The tool we've built requires literally organizational change, right?
Yeah.
And I think we kind of like cornered ourselves because of that.
Yeah, and you mentioned just now the two companies, Dentsu, one of the biggest marketing agencies in the world,
Exactly.
one of the biggest event companies in Australia. But then earlier you were saying that you were wanting to sell to 10-person
Yep,
founder-led agencies. Do you think that was also a bit of a challenge that you were interviewing these big giant corporations with various different problems that come from being a sizable organization with big
for sure.
accounts
Yeah,
versus, you know,
yeah,
a 10-person
yeah.
agency doing probably like digital marketing?
Yeah. So that's another mistake, like mistake number two with our customer interviews, because what we ended up doing during our customer interviews was that we targeted interviews by roles, right? So account director of, Harry the Hirer, account director of Dentsu, and then account director of a 10-person agency who barely had anything to share. You know what I mean? Because it's like a way different role, right? And again, in a 10-person agency, an account director does not make the buying decision, right? The
Yeah,
founder does, right? So again, I think if I could run it back, definitely I would just go pain point first, right? Look for that commonality, interview people about their day to day around that pain point. Like, hey, walk me through your day where
yeah.
this pain point appears, right? And then just go super deep. Yeah.
Okay. And did you feel like you did enough discovery? Because it sounds more like you just did the wrong discovery.
I think we also should have continued doing customer discovery. I think at a certain point we stopped and just went straight into building the product. We didn't do follow ups and all this stuff. I recall watching a video of this guy. I can't remember who he was, and he said something along the lines of, "You should only stop doing discovery when you've hit some kind of a product market fit within that segment, right?" And we just built and just never looked back.
I remember talking to you about that.
Yeah.
When I remember, I forgot his name as well, but it was in the Founding Institute,
Yeah, I think
and
so.
you watched it, and you came out, and you were like, "Ben, gonna do this. Like it makes so much
Yeah.
sense. We've
Yeah,
made it."
yeah, yeah.
But a mistake there was that you actually didn't follow the process for long enough.
Not at all. Yeah. I think we just got sucked into, oh man, now we have this monster product on our hands that requires a lot of upkeep, right? That requires a lot more development, and we were just kind of like fighting daily on it. Yeah.
Yeah. And how long did this all go on for?
I think a good year, easy. Just
Good.
yeah, I think a good year, and then yeah, we decided to do a little pivot after that.
Well, I definitely want to hear about that a little bit more soon. And so a whole year, I'm going to assume that the pre-seed fund was spent.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we used all the money building the product to where it is today. And we also barely did nearly enough like go to market to make anything sustainable. Yeah.
Okay. So we burnt through our funds. How did you keep the lights on?
Um, it's self-funded now, and we also removed a lot of the team so that we, slow down our burn rate. Right now we are operating on a zero burn rate, and we're trying to basically reboot everything. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And when you're going through all this, right?
Hmm.
You've come up with this concept. You've raised money for it. You did some customer interviews, perhaps incorrectly. You then built a horizontal monster. Your team had chaos because they're just like, what's priority? What are we building? What are we not building? You didn't have clear buyers, which really impacted your conversion and sales
Hmm.
process in general. What moment made you realize this isn't working? Because we're going to talk about your pivot, but what
Yeah.
moment made you realize, hey, this isn't working? We've got to pivot. Like, holy
Mm.
shit!
I think it was definitely I think a month or two before the pivot, I was really just going all out with sales outreach, right? I personally took it on and was like, I'm gonna do all, the best positioning exercises. I had like 9 different messengers going out, like so many email sequencers and LinkedIn sequencers, right? Going to different decision makers. And then I targeted the founders, the account directors again, the project managers. I targeted different countries, different verticals, and it just kind of came back so slowly, right?
Mm.
You're doing that for like a good 6 to 8 weeks. You'd be like, hey guys, I think we have a problem. You know what I mean? Because um, if no one's jumping on it, it's not. It's just not good enough, right? To be sustainable. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Um, and 6 to 8 weeks. That I mean, when you got to that, how did you feel? Like you got to 8 weeks, like fuck, we do not have a product that people want to buy. We spent more than a year building it, selling it, or trying to sell it.
Mm.
How did that make you feel? Because this was your baby. I remember when you first were talking about it, you were super passionate.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's not just the 6 to 8 weeks, isn't it? It's the year, and it was a long time coming, right? I think we just Andrew and I, we sat down. We tried to do um an entire revisioning of the whole product, right? We sat down and we said, hey, look, we really need a niche, right? We really need to know who we're selling to, why we're selling to them, right? And what's the ultimate big painful pain point, right? Um, and we just could not figure it out with the current product, right? We broke down every feature in our product. We wrote every positioning message you could think of at a very granular level. And we were like, would you pay money for this? Um, yeah, yeah. And we took a step back. Yeah. Yeah. We just took a step back and we looked at our team and we were like, how's our team using the product?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you were using it in your other agencies,
Yeah. And it was just a project management tool.
and an overpriced project management tool, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. If what's the biggest thing you do differently? I mean, we're obviously doing something different now because we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna we're gonna hear all about Gen Z 2.0 soon. But like if you could kind of encompass the biggest lessons from this like last year plus,
Mm,
and what you do differently, so folks who are at different stages who are listening to this can kind of learn from your fuck up.
yeah. Well, I think definitely don't build a horizontal product. That's number one. Uh yeah. So for me today, it's literally figure out that one big pain point, right? Figure out the customer segments that face that one big pain point. Go do that market validation before you build an entire tool or an all-in-one platform, right? Definitely. And I think for me, it's really being specific about the product vision and roadmap, right? Because if I could not even verbalize what the product was, which was the case, right, in the early days, um, if I could not verbalize it, then no one's gonna understand what product you're building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And tell me a little bit about the pivot. Tell me about Gen Z 2.0.
Well, okay, awesome. So it came from two different places, this pivot, right? One was that my co-founder and I, Andrew, we both manage clients in the agency that we run together right now. And we found ourselves every other day going into client meetings, having to consolidate meeting minutes, convert that into task, disseminate that information to the rest of the team and so on. And then we always struggled because, well, in this side of the world, you're on WhatsApp, right? You're not always on Slack, right? So customers come in, they change the briefs, they come in with a bug report and all that, and these are all like WhatsApp messages. Um, so we felt this pain personally, and we felt it kind of like really occurring on a very frequent basis, right? And then we also stumbled onto a really great tool or CRM called Clarify, right? So Clarify is kind of like an autonomous CRM where if you're going into your sales calls, off the back of that, it takes your meeting minutes and it converts it into uh, actions, right? It recommends, hey, do you want to create this deal stage or move this deal stage or update your deal pipeline? So while you're having conversations around your deals, you never have to do anything around sales, right? So we looked at that concept and we looked at our day-to-day pain point and we were like, okay, I think it's time to build an autonomous project management tool, right? Yeah, and that's where the new product vision was born. All right. So today, what we're building for as Gen Z, it's meant to be your autonomous project manager, right? It essentially uses AI, turns conversations from your email, WhatsApp, Slack, and inboxes and all that meeting minutes into, you know, actual tasks that you can assign owners, and it updates timelines automatically and so on, right? What we're doing differently right now is we are validating our product with the right people. Already spoken to many founders who have trouble with project coordination, who can't manage clients and manage their team at the same time, and so on and so forth. So we intend to keep validating until we feel the projects the products kind of hit a product market fit. Yeah.
Good, good. We're
Yeah.
actually learning from the mistake. Gen
Yeah.
Z 2.0 sounds really exciting having an autonomous project manager. I hate updating Kanban boards and things like that.
Yeah.
And it's just so time consuming. So I'm really excited to see that. And are we doing enough customer validation?
I hope so. I would hope so.
Well,
Yeah.
Shuk, I really appreciate it. Thank you for sharing your story, sharing your fuck up, and it sounds like you got a big lesson from it. All right, we spent a year of time and more. We spent our funding on it, but that lesson is incredibly valuable, and I'm really excited to see what Gen Z 2.0 can do. And for anyone who's listening, who's Gen Z 2.0 for? What's your persona? What's your niche?
Right now, we are targeting small business owners and anyone who's handling project managing teams and handling clients at the same time. We're looking at any company size from 10 to 20 headcount.
Okay, and how can they get hold of you?
Or reach me at shuki at genc.io or go to our website genc.io and check out our product.
Awesome. Thank you very much for coming on the show, Shook, for the
Awesome.
third time and sharing your fuck up.
Thank you. Thanks, Ben.